back on another episode of the War Room. We are going to be talking about the quarterback class today. It's Today is going to be myself, Ayush Kasaju, and Pierce Allen. You can find us on X at DJ Scouting. For me, you can find Ayush at Two Biscuits with the Z, and you can find Pierce at Piercy Allen on X. If you are listening on X, we would love a retweet or like or comment or anything. And if you are watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff there. We're also streaming on Twitch. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about quarterbacks. Obviously, this is a thin quarterback class for this year's draft. Headlines by Cam Ward and Shadir Sanders, with the dark horse of a potential first round selection for Ole Miss's Jackson Dart. But we're going to be talking about the nuances of this position group right after the introduction. Um, we're gonna give me 1 second. We're gonna get. I forgot to change the name of the stream. I don't think I can change it from here. If I can, then that would be great. But I don't want people to think we're making another collab mock. Yes, it might be kind of cooked, but it's all right. Um, so let's while I do that, I'm gonna kickstart this by letting you guys just kind of display what you guys view as the maybe the top five of this class, uh, and um, and then we're gonna have a like basically an open discussion on the topic of quarterbacks in this class. So Ayush, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, obviously people know that this draft or this QB class is not the strongest that we've had, especially in the past couple of years, outside of the 2021, 22, whichever one it was with Kenny Pickett in them. But I do think this is a better draft class for sure than that group. And um, but my kind of thinking with my top five is um, the top two guys, which I think we all have the same, are the guys that can start day one. They're capable of starting day one. I mean, obviously, I think I've said it before in the pod, but me personally, I think every rookie quarterback benefits from having a year to just kind of sit behind someone else. Um, Maybe not even a year, maybe at least a couple weeks. There's obviously outliers to that. We saw Jaden Daniels do that this past season, CJ Stroud a couple seasons ago. But in the general sense, I think that quarterbacks play better if they have that year to just kind of watch and learn, kind of grow, see how a pro does it without having to just be thrust into the limelight, um, and be expected to produce at the same level they're producing in college. Um, but yeah, so the first two guys, I'll just go. So Cam Ward is my one, Shador Sanders is two. Those are the two guys that I think are capable of being able to just be starters from day one and go into it and be able to lead a team um, to be better than they were the previous season. Even though I do think that both those guys could benefit from having a couple weeks to just kind of sit and watch and learn, especially because the teams that they're going to are probably not going to be the greatest. Um, yeah, and then the next three guys were really guys that I think are the most moldable into becoming starters over the next couple of years. I don't think they would be that great at being the day one starters, but I do think that they have the tools and have the ability to like soak up everything from a mental standpoint. And be able to learn everything that they can. So those next three, I had Jackson Dart at three, Quinn Ewers at four, and then I put Callum McCord at five. I know that that might be a bit of a interesting one, but I really liked what he did in Syracuse. Had a up and down season, his only season starting at Ohio State, but I do think um, maybe a couple seasons of watching and learning, he can be a starter. I think that if he at worst, I think it'd be a good bridge quarterback for the majority of his season of being a guy kind of like uh, those Ryan Fitzpatrick's or um, Josh McCown's, maybe a little like a tier better than that, but in terms of their role of being that bridge quarterback that kind of lets a team kind of stay afloat while they find their franchise guy. But that was my five. Um, that was just in a general sense of how I kind of grouped them into tiers. Um, I know that there's a couple guys that y'all are probably thinking about that I didn't put on here. I know y'all will probably talk about it, and I could probably give my take on them when y'all mention them.
Pierce.
Well, uh, the top five that I had, I mean, the top two are kind of, I feel like I can speak for all three of us. It's kind of the same. The top two, Cam Ward and Shador Sanders. I think those are the guys that really are setting the tone for this draft class. Uh, and so I kind of, to me, just based off of my experience of watching them either live or through film or just watching simple highlights or just watching full games. I got Jackson Dart at three. I feel like he can really develop into like he's a gamer. That's one thing that I can recognize from his time at Ole Miss is that the kid could fill up a stat sheet, win, lose or draw. Could fill up a stat sheet, can run an offense is what I could get to. Uh, at four, I know he struggled a ton, especially lately. But I got Jalen Milrow. I mean, I just feel like the amount of talent that he has, he's just a physical specimen. Can throw the football. Just the one thing I feel like he's just going to have to develop is just accuracy, intermediate and short. Deep ball he's got down. I mean, watched him torch Texas A&M not too long ago. And then Quinn Ewers to close. I just feel like with his arm talent, you really can't keep that, away from a football program, away from a team, an association in the NFL because they're going to look at the measurables. They're going to see, okay, he's got decent QB size. He's the your average size, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". Um, can throw at different arm angles, you know, and I feel like that's what the quarterback of today is kind of turning into. Like, can you make any throw, and can you make different angle? Like, can you make a throw out of a different or well, not majority of the time, but most of the time, you're going to have, you know, corners, safeties, linemen, linebackers bearing down, and you're going to have to find a way to throw the football without getting your arm chopped off, is what I would say. But yeah, that's my top five. The Colin McCord pick, I feel like could make it into that top five, but not just based off of what I've seen now, what I've seen in the past. These are where my guys stand in terms of the top five.
Yeah. So yeah, mine's. I'll just run through it really quick. Cam Ward at one, Shadir Sanders at two, Jackson Dart at three, Will Howard at four, and Jalen Milrow at five. Um, just want to. I'll say this, and then we can kind of continue into the conversation. But uh, hopefully, starting on this next episode, once we start with running backs, I will have my draft guide, and what I'll probably do is I'll probably share my screen so we can have that in the background. But not today because I'm still working on a bunch of the nuances of relaying this information back over because I did a big time data overhaul to enhance the quality of the both the viewing experience, but also the quality of the nuances of the grading. And I have a new system that I really like. We talked about it before called Tap Tape, which is tape auxiliary production. So it's an acronym. And auxiliary, by the way, is like the supplementary data such as durability, character, et cetera, scheme. And then tape uh, is broken down into its own acronym: technique, athleticism, processing, execution. So that'll be more visually relayed, hopefully starting with this running back episode that we do probably in a week or so, maybe less. But back to the main topic of quarterbacks, I obviously everyone knows how bad this class is in terms of
Hmm.
in terms of comparison to other classes. You have honestly, if this is 2024 class, 2024's class last year, Cam is probably sitting at QB4. Shadir is probably sitting at, what would that make him, like QB9? It would be Caleb,
Yeah.
Caleb Drake, Jaden,
Jaden.
um, and then probably Cam, and then I think I feel like I'm missing someone in there, but Michael
Would you even put
Penix.
Joe Milton in front of?
No,
Wait,
no.
would you put him in front of
Down
Shador?
the list. No,
He
no, no,
wouldn't be
no.
in front of Shador.
Milton was like a fifth round grade for me,
Okay,
and I was actually
I'm
kind
just
of
I'm
high on
just
him
saying
at one
because.
point. But no, Shador would be still he has a second round grade for me. But I
Hmm.
so
Okay.
yeah, I mean, what you said earlier, there's two guys here that I can actually see as long term starters. I think Jackson, and we brought this up in the mock draft before because I think we kind of peer pressured you, Ayush, into making the
Yeah.
pick and sending darts to the Steelers, and that's and what the whole concept of that mock is not what we would do. It's kind of envisioning what we think these 32 teams
The
are
franchise would
going
do.
to decide to do on draft day, and based on how the Steelers have operated in the past, the dart makes sense. I think that if dart's on the board and if the board falls in that way that it did, then I think that they make that pick. But if we're talking about this in comparison to other classes, Dart is a total afterthought. He's probably a French top 10 quarterback in the class. And that's me with sitting here with a third round grade on Jackson Dart as an evaluator. But yeah, I like Dart. I think he has some tools. I think that he could develop into a starter. I don't think that as of right now, he's not a plug and play starter. And again, like with the Steelers, it to me it doesn't make a lot of sense. For them, I think it would make a lot of sense for them. I think from their point of view, I think they're sitting here. He went to the Senior Bowl. He has a lot of the tools that honestly what Kenny Pickett had. He has a lot of those same tools, and just based on that background with them, I think that they would make that pick. Will Howard was my four, and honestly, one of the main things with Will Howard is you're looking at obviously he's a big dude, he's an
Hmm.
okay athlete, but um, arm strength is okay. Character is where his foundation is set. He's a leader. He's a high character
Yeah.
guy. He has a winning background. He has the
Hmm.
experience. He has the stats. He's kind of just this checks a lot of boxes to be a good backup. And from there on, maybe Milrow gets a shot at being a starter. Otherwise, you're looking at backups all the way down the board, pretty much. And
Yeah, pretty much.
some of those guys are not even gonna be making rosters. So, but Dylan Gabriel's in that type of mix. I think he's the next tier below that top five. I like Dylan Gabriel in terms of his experience. He has a winning attitude. He's a good dude. He's a leader, and he obviously has a lot of production during his collegiate career, but not someone that I would be worrying about drafting until fourth or fifth round, and I'm looking for a backup for sure at that point. But yeah, this is a tough class. I'm not personally that excited for it, other than Cam Ward. But and I guess we should probably expand on Milrow. Pierce, you went into what Milrow was a little bit earlier. I think you did too a little bit, but I personally don't think he has the rocket of an arm that everyone says he does. I think he has a good arm. I don't think it's a great arm. Uh,
Mm.
I think it's probably uh, compared to other guys in this class, is probably a little bit better than. Eh, it's a decent amount better than Shadir Sanders' arm in terms of like distance, but as an athlete, obviously you're getting an elite athlete. The accuracy is not there. The mental aspect of the game is a problem for him. And I've brought this up in past episodes, like during summer scouting, when I went position by position. I brought up Jalen Milrow, and man, there's one play that I just cannot shake, and it's one. It was Isaiah Bonds on the far right side of the end zone, and they're at like the 40-yard line, the plus 40, so they have a ways to go. Isaiah Bonds in the far right corner of the end zone, and Jermaine Burton is sitting there wide open, middle, like in the end zone, wide open, just standing there. And it is not in any form. It's not in Jalen Milroe's blind spot. It's perfectly within vision. The run of the mill quarterback that's in perfect eyesight. And what he decides to do is so
Force the
basically
ball into
no, he
the
doesn't
defenders.
force a ball at all. He has Isaiah Bond semi open. He has Jermaine Burton wide open, and he actually decides to take off and run. And what sucks is, as good of an athlete and as elusive as he is, because normally he would shake this, but he got tackled within like 3 yards. He couldn't even shake the defender, and I'm just sitting there like, dude, you have enough arm strength to make that play. And that should have been a walk-off touchdown. This was during his 2023 tape because, like I said, Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond. But I just can't shake that play because that was just such a testament to who he is as mentally. He just cannot get over this hump, and he grew up a little bit in that sense where he can see the field a little bit better. But I have struggles with his ability to go through progressions, make reads, play aware football because it's not even just a going through progressions things. There's times where the blindside pressure will get to him, and he's just not elusive enough in the pocket. But once he does uh, tuck the ball and run, obviously there's a lot to like there. He's one of the best scramblers that honestly I could say he's one of the best scrambling quarterbacks I've probably ever seen. And this is someone that it feels like every year there's a guy that's like, oh, he's a quarterback, but what he should really be is a running back. And we've seen that type of argument so many times over the years. And a couple of years ago, it was um, uh, the one Louisville quarterback, not Lamar. Well, Lamar's in
Lewis
that conversation too. The Malik, it
or
was like
uh,
Michael something. Uh, I don't remember, but oh man, that's gonna bother the heck out of me. Michael Louisville QB. Mal- Malik Cunningham. Malik Cunningham. Uh, and he was kind of in that breath. Obviously, Lamar was in that breath, and there's a number of guys that kind of fit that mold as well. But I feel like Jalen Milroe could genuinely get to that point because he is such an athlete, and that's not just for the quarterback position. Compared to most running backs, he's a plus athlete. So I just don't know. We'll see. Maybe he can get in the right situation and take off. There was a point in time where like my mock draft 1.0, I mocked Milroe as a top 10 player because I was pre-combine. I expected him to go at the combine and run. I still it is astounding to me that he decided to wait till his pro day to run because he he is such an athlete and he ended up running a 4.3 and I'm just exactly what I expected. But you would expect him to take that, and he was healthy at the time. But you would expect him to take that run at the combine and do a full workout, or at least a semi-full workout, because he is that type of athlete where he would have scored high raw scores. He would have been all over the he would have been a media darling and all that type of stuff, just because that's how it works with the combine. Especially if you have a quarterback that goes and performs as an athlete. Obviously, we saw Anthony Richardson go from someone who was a French first round type of guy to a top 5 pick. So I was expecting that type of ascension for Milroe. It didn't happen, and he pretty much ever since this summer he's been at best the highest he's got graded out for me was like a late like bottom tier third round pick type guy. So, um, but yeah. So, and then depth wise, I'll just fire off a couple names here. We got Riley Leonard. He's kind of poor man's version of Will Howard in that sense, where good leader, a lot of experience, and he has an okay amount of production. Obviously, he has a um, a college football playoff championship under his belt. Obviously, he lost that, but a good player nonetheless. I just don't see the long term vision for him. I think that he might be a minus caliber backup quarterback. Kyle McCord's there, had a good year in 2025, 2024 after transferring out of Ohio State. Came and had a good year in Syracuse where he looked confident, which was not the case in 2023. Will Rogers, longtime journeyman out of Washington, he's all right. I don't see much of a long term future for him. Graham Mertz could be a backup quarterback. Brady Cook performed well at the combine. Don't know about his long term trajectory. I don't think he's much of a. He's not. He's more of an athlete than a football player. But Tyler Shuck is another guy that I don't. I'm surprised we've gone this long without mentioning. But he's someone that's gotten a big ascension lately, and I think it's mostly because of size and athleticism, which obviously a lot of time we'll see that get a bump, but he's not much football player. He's not a top tier mental guy, which scares me considering the amount of experience that he has. Because you would expect with the amount of experience that he has that maybe he's taken the jump mentally, which I guess you can kind of compare that to. Uh, in a negative light for at least me as an evaluator. I said that same thing about Bo Nix, but different animals here. And but the injury background is what scares me the most with Shuck. Very scary injury background for him. Curtis Rourke is in the backup quarterback conversation. Donovan Smith was someone that was getting some first round buzz before the offseason. He ended up getting benched midway through the season. He just fell, like plummeted down boards for good reason. Seth Hennigan, another guy. But yeah, there's a, there are about three guys here that should be really on your radar in terms of what they can be as starters. Maybe Jalen Milrow is the fourth, but yeah. So, what do you guys think about? Um, so I guess let's dive back into the top guys here because these are the guys that most people really care about for this draft. But so at the top of the draft board, you have the Titans, you have the Browns, you have the Giants. All three of these teams need a quarterback. If let's say one of these teams, let's say the Browns and the Giants are both interested in this first overall pick, um, and all three of these teams have. Okay, let me re kind of direct this. If all three of these teams had a opportunity to go get any one of these top quarterbacks in this class, where do you think the best fits are? And that's beyond skill. I'm saying in terms of how these guys would fit into any of these teams, what are the best matches in your opinion for the top of this quarterback board?
Well, the best fit, I feel like Tennessee is just. I feel like that's the best fit for a guy like Cam Ward. Uh, Cam Ward, from what I've heard, or from what I've seen, he seems like he's a little quiet. He likes to let his game show what he. Let me word that. He likes to let his game do the talking. He doesn't like to talk as much
Yeah.
as like a Shador Sanders, who's very vocal, very confident in himself. Cam Ward has confidence, but he likes to let his game do the talking more than I think talking behind in front of a camera. And I feel like that would be something that a Tennessee can help. Like Tennessee isn't expected to be, the big spotlight to be shining on their
That's
quarterback.
true. Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I can just put my head down and work here and work in Tennessee. And meanwhile, Shador in the bright lights of the Big Apple for the Giants, I feel like that's where Shador Sanders can fit the best as well because I feel like a guy of his pedigree, uh, you know, everyone is gonna know it's like okay, this is Deion Sanders' baby boy, who has plenty of ability to play the game of football the right way as a quarterback, but he'll also have that confidence, whether that be on his wristwatch and by whatever he wears prior to the game or whenever he steps out on the field. Uh, that's why I feel like the fits for the top two quarterbacks go in the top three picks of the draft. I really don't. I
Yeah.
mean, you could possibly see Shador in Cleveland, but not long is what I would say. I don't think he could possibly
Yeah.
be a Cleveland Brown, but sooner or later, I think Cleveland's going to kick the tires on that, on like a Shador project, because Cleveland's struggling. Cleveland's pretty handcuffed in terms of skill position, running backs, because they're paying 40 million for their star defensive end, and they're still paying a fully guaranteed contract to Deshaun Watson. So
Yeah.
they're pretty much hog tied at that point.
Hmm.
So they're just trying to shoot for the stars with one pick. But yeah, that's my
So
take.
where
I really
I'm gonna ask in extension to that, where do you think, like, where would you say Dart and, let's say, Milrow? So because we talked about those guys as probably the four, not the best necessarily, because I think Howard's better than Milrow, at least in my opinion. But
yeah
those are the most polarizing guys that actually have a chance of
yeah.
being a starter. So where would you say fit wise
Uh,
Dart and Milrow best fit?
Dart, I feel like, I mean, if this is me, like, as a big what if Bo Jackson, well, not Bo Jackson, Bo Nix isn't in Denver, Jackson Dart should be the pick at 20 for
I
Denver.
like that. That's true. Yeah.
Like, if Bo Nix wasn't in Denver right now, I think, or had Jackson Dart left last year, Bo Nix isn't even in the conversation in Denver right now. I think if
Yeah.
Jackson Dart leaves after his junior campaign at Ole Miss, Jackson Dart just finished his season in Denver. But this year, now that since Jackson Dart's a recent graduate senior from Ole Miss, I could definitely see him. I mean, we've already talked about it and discussed it. Um, I really think he can thrive under a very good coach like Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, uh, because he'll have plenty of options in terms of with DK Metcalf, George Pickens, and then who's their tight end?
Fryermuth.
Isn't Farabone still there?
Pat Fryermuth.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, he's still there. And then, I mean, I think they still have to figure out who's going to be behind the quarterback at running back, but they've got a good he's got a good setup there. I feel like that's where Jackson Dart can showcase his talents. Well, that depends if Aaron Rodgers doesn't decide to sign there. But if that does happen, it's going to be the same thing that Rodgers has been
So
trying to avoid for the past 5 years.
and then can I
But
invert your opinion here? Like, can
yeah,
I ask you? So I think from the prospect perspective, I agree. From Jackson Dart, if I'm Jackson Dart, I'm like, oh, Steelers. I would really love to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. But what about from the Steelers' perspective, and not from the fact of like what we were talking about mock draft, but in the
hmm
sense of what is best for them? Um, do you think that they should? Because, and I brought it up earlier. I think, and this isn't my comp. My comp for Dart is actually. Hang on one second. I can pull it. My comp for Dart is actually Baker Mayfield, but you can also
yes,
see a little bit of the remnants of what you get from Kenny Pickett. If you're the Steelers, you can kind of see those types of things
hmm
from Dart. I think Dart has a better arm, and then I think Pickett was a little bit of a better athlete. Not saying Dart was a bad athlete, but there's a little bit of trade off. But at the nucleus of those players, they're pretty similar. But what would you say from the Steelers' perspective is uh, is the best schematic fit for them? If, let's say, they have their choice of, like, their interest in trading up for 1 to 1 for Cam Ward, or their interest in trading up to 3 for Shadur Sanders, or their interest in staying put and getting Jackson Dart. What do you think is the best move in their shoes?
the best move for Pittsburgh. I mean, my honest opinion, I feel like Shadur
Or wait.
Sanders. I mean, should well in terms of. I mean, you were talking about possible possibilities for him. I mean, if they do want to pull the trigger on something, they could definitely pull the trigger and get look into the top three and draft Shador Sanders because he's got that. He's not a so he's not the guy that's going to take off and run 50% of the time. He's going to stay in the pocket, deliver the football even when he's under duress and everything. So I can definitely see the best fit would be a Shador Sanders, but I just doubt that happens in this draft.
Yeah, yeah, because
My
I only asked that because
Mhm.
obviously, and I feel like I'm going around in circles. I keep saying the same thing, but the Steelers are one of the more polarizing situations because
Mhm.
they have, Ben Roethlisberger left in what 2020,
Yep.
retires. Ever since then, you're looking for a quarterback. This is one of the most prominent franchises in NFL history, in sports history, in total. You have 6 Super Bowl wins under the belt, which is second most in NFL history in the Super Bowl era. So obviously, you're looking for a quarterback that can actually be a staple of your franchise. We brought it up earlier. The challenge is: do the Steelers care about that, or do they just want someone who can play quarterback and play it okay, or do they want someone who is going to be another dude? So, Ayush, you were about to interject there. What is your thought process?
my kind of thinking is if the Steelers don't move, um, the only reason I would see them going for Dart is if they do have Rodgers. And my idea is that you
Yeah.
let Rodgers have that year, um, because the Steelers literally everywhere else are in a position where they can win now in terms of roster structure. Um, and they're just really missing the orchestrator of their offense at this point. And so I think Rodgers, bringing him in is going to get you to a point where you can hopefully really compete. I think he's better than he was, better than he was capable of being on the Jets. Um, and so I think if you bring Rodgers in and you let a Dart sit on the bench for a year, that can really create that bridge that you want to ensure that you have a bit of a longer um, stability in terms of offensive output for the Steelers because you have George Pickens there, you have DK there, Fireman with all of the guys that you mentioned. These are pretty young guys that can contribute now. You'll probably add a running back in this draft as well. That's going to be young. So you're going to have a really young offense, and you have an old guy that can kind of hopefully kind of be that leader, be the guy to kind of maybe push them in the right direction, help them kind of grow as a group. And then you let Dart come in the next year and kind of continue that process. And I think that's the best way for them to go. Um, if they do want to win now and they don't want to go for Rodgers, um, I think Cam Ward is the best option. Cause I mean he's the best quarterback
Yeah.
obviously in the draft, and I think he fits a little bit better than Shador would, just because I feel that Cam is a little more dynamic and can make it just works with the dynamicism that both George Pickens and DK have as receivers as well. You know,
Mhm.
so um, I feel like if we just don't think if every quarter or if every team needed a quarterback right now, I don't know really know why it's like clicking in my head, but I feel like Shador would work in Miami. With I mean, I guess Tyreek's gonna be gone, but with Waddle and if Tyreek
Mhm.
was there to stay, I feel like he would just kind of really open things up offensively for him. I feel like it just fits. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking
He feels like a right-handed Tua in some senses too.
a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like he would just be able to get him in positions to get those yards after catch, all those kind of things, keep the offense dynamic.
Yeah.
Obviously he's probably not going to go there, but that's just kind of where I was feeling in terms of fit. Um, I don't know. I was thinking Jackson Dart on the Giants wouldn't be bad. Not at pick 3, but on the Giants, I feel like there could be something there. Once again, that same situation of being behind Russell Wilson, and kind of working with that for a season. You see how Russell Wilson works with Malik Neighbors, um, whatever other wide receivers they
Yeah.
decide to either pick up in the draft or free agency, or if they decide to stick with Slayton as their two. But I feel like that's also a situation that could kind of work out well for him. And yeah, I mean, there's kind of a trend with what I'm thinking about Jackson Dart is that you got to get him behind one of these veteran quarterbacks and let him just kind of soak up as much as you can because I think he has all the physical tools. He kind of in terms of kind of situation and kind of what he needs, he gives me the same vibes as Zach Wilson because I really felt the same way
Yeah.
about Zach Wilson. In terms of he has all the right like tools and skill set. He just needs to watch and get a feel of it at the NFL level and not be thrust in the position that he was thrust into on the Jets. Um,
Yeah.
so that's basically where I am with Jackson Dart as well. And so I think if a team sees that and is willing to commit to that process, I think that's going to be really helpful for both the team and Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I'm glad that was understood because I that was a little bit of a messy poise of the question, but yeah, what I was really getting at is, if every team had their pick of the litter, and and we're just talking scheme only, where do these guys fit? And I think those were a lot of good hits there. Uh, and okay, so Ayush, I'll let you answer this one, but what do you think about Milrow fit wise? Who's the best spot for him? Me personally, I'm
Man,
just gonna throw out there that I'm thinking of like where's the running quarterbacks at, and
uh-huh.
who has a vacant spot that they could occupy a backup quarterback. So like the Jets, maybe.
I mean, honestly, I'm like really low on Milrow. I mean, he's still like
Yeah,
maybe like top 8 for me, but um, I just I have big question marks on his ability to kind of build on his skills that he has. Just especially
yeah,
seeing the step back that I feel like he took in this past season at Alabama. Um, but, I mean, you could say the Ravens. The Ravens are always a team that has that like big time running backup. With
yeah.
um,
But then there's
Snoop
Rush
Huntley and
now. So
yeah, Rush
there's
is there
if
now.
for him at least that's not it's not
He
feasible
wouldn't
because you
play.
already
Yeah.
have a big ticket backup, and obviously he's never going to be the starter there. So
Mhm. I'm trying to think of who else could work. I could maybe see like this is just me like thinking on the fly, but the 49ers could probably figure out a way to use him even if it's not at the quarterback position. The
Mhm.
49ers I feel like could be a team that could figure out how to use him pretty well. Um, let's see.
Man, I said Jets earlier, but looking at their depth chart, they already have 15 freaking mobile quarterbacks on their depth chart.
Yeah,
We
the
talked. I
Jets
guess
have
we talked about that before, but Fields, Tyrod Taylor, Jordan Travis, and Adrian Martinez are all literally like it gets worse and worse down the depth chart, but they're all the same type of player.
same. Yep. Yeah, I
But
don't know. It's tough to kind of pinpoint a
I mean,
team. I feel like
what if the Eagle if he falls to like the third round and the Eagles want to
okay,
take like a flyer on him?
the Eagles
But at
would
the
be
same
pretty
time, they already
interesting. That
brought
makes
in Thompson, Robinson, and I think they like McGee. But
yeah. I mean, he kind of fits. I mean, maybe be like the tush push replacement if you want to like take wear and tear off of Jalen Hurts. You just stick Milrow in there for those plays, and then it'll probably work the same way. Um, yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to. I mean, the Colts obviously could. I mean, you're basically bringing on a clone of Anthony Richardson, kind of just like a slightly worse version of it, in my opinion. Um,
then you look at the depth chart there, and Daniel Jones is there,
yeah, they
big
don't need
ticket
one.
backup. Because this
Exactly.
is such a challenge. Like, dude, what was Milrow thinking declaring for this draft? And I know, fast forward the situation, it gets worse and worse. So I bet he didn't think it would get to this point, but he did everything wrong in the pre-draft. He should have been
Mhm.
here. One, he should have done a full workout at the combine because that's where his money was at. And
Mhm.
we talked about that. We talked about that in the episode. I don't think you were on, Ayush, but me, Pearson,
Yeah.
and Jackson talked about it. And we were like, and I said the dumbest thing any player could do in this draft class at this point in time is Jalen Milrow specifically not participating fully in the combine. And he didn't do the full workout. He should have done every drill that he should have done. He should have done broad. He should have done 40. He should have done shuttle. Dude, he would have aced every single test. And
Mhm.
then he's at least around further because I think right now we're thinking like third, fourth, maybe late second or something. He would be at least around, he would be a second or third rounder at the bare minimum if he would have just done that. And in the combine, I know he did a lot of that stuff at the pro day, but dude, there's just a different of there's a sense of I know these are the numbers. I know this is secure information that
Feels
is
legit.
accurate and it's legit. And I don't think I've talked about it on this podcast, but I think pro days should be revamped. Uh, but he could have really stabilized his draft stock. But yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking at this and I don't like anywhere. I can't think of a spot that's like, oh, I would really love this for him because of the situation, because of the depth chart, because of the schematics of it, because he would be able to develop and then become a starter.
yeah. Who's the
It's
backup
like
in like
none of these.
Houston right now?
Let's see.
I don't.
Davis
Is it Mills
Mills.
still? Is it still Mills?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess in theory he could. I guess in theory that would make sense for him. Be a backup there, but do we think the tech? I think the Texans have more to worry about. They
Yeah,
have to
that's
go build this
exactly.
O line. I've said before, if I'm them, I'm spending all but maybe one or two of my picks on freaking O line. I don't care
Exactly. Yeah.
if it looks ugly on paper. I'm getting as many O linemen as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
tough. I mean,
Milrow is wrong for declaring.
yeah, it's just a weird position, and I don't like I said before. I don't feel like he has that moldability that I was talking about with the guys in my top five. Like he doesn't like when you see him throw, it doesn't feel like he has like control of his arm, in my
Yeah,
opinion. It's just like weird. Um, you know he's capable of making plays, but you don't know when those plays are going to show up, and that's just like it's a real like gamble that you got to take with him. And I mean, maybe there's someone out there, there's a team that really feels like they can, and maybe they can kind of mold him into the guy they want him to
yeah.
be. But it's going to take a lot of work, and I don't see it panning out, especially in like the first 2 years. It's going to take a good bit of time to get him where you want him to be.
And actually, this kind of brings me back to something. I feel like Ayush. I feel like you brought up something about this. Like it would have been like 8 months ago or something. I don't know why it's coming to mind, but you asked me something about my ceiling grades on my scouting, and I think it was in
Oh,
context to Quinn Ewers, and I said something about how the way I view ceiling and floor grades, and this is how I integrate it into my system, isn't necessarily the player on in the quarterback position of this draft class that has the highest ceiling is DJ Uiagalelei. Dead serious. But how realistic is that? That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is
yeah,
what's the realistic aspect of what these guys can be? Because if you're looking at raw, everything entirely raw, then then you're doing it wrong because it's just not realistic. You get 1 or 2 years and then you're gone. And
Hmm.
like I mean, even Dallas in particular just took a big risk 2 years ago on Trey Lance. They sent around a fourth round draft pick for a backup quarterback. They made a big investment, and he was going to be their third string. And now he's off. He was almost about to head off to the Canadian Football League before the Chargers come in and for some reason give him 6 mil. But that's kind of what we're talking about here is these teams need to be able to judge, okay, here's their ceiling, but also how realistic is it that we get to that point? Because Quinn Ewers is in that same conversation, right? He is one of the highest ceilings of this class, but how realistic is it that he gets to maxing out his ceiling? How realistic is someone is Milrow obviously is the head, one of the main one of the main focal points of this. I brought up Tyler Shuck earlier. You like the size, you like the athleticism, you like the experience, all this type of stuff, but how realistic is that you can tap into that ceiling? Because that's such an important part of this process is for these teams is figuring out which guys are, can we realistically max out what they are as a player and make them an all pro caliber quarterback? How can we do that? Do we have the right staff for that? And are they the right guys for that? And that's just one other element of the scouting process because, like I said, DJ Uiagalelei is literally everything raw. In terms of the raw aspects of this position, he has the highest ceiling. Dead serious has the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this class, but is not realistic. That'll never happen. And and in reality, he's going to be, sucks for him, but he's going to be selling insurance in 2 years. So
Hmm.
maybe he'll be good at that. We'll see. Uh, but yeah, so Okay, then let's pivot this conversation to um I don't know. We have a lot to talk about. So, Pierce, you were bringing up before the show some uh, pro comps that you had for some of these guys. Just
Hmm.
fire them off for me really quick. And I also say this to preface for anyone listening. When it comes to pro comps, and I do this, and Pierce does this, and I think Ayush does this, but in our eyes, pro comps are stylistic, and it's
Hmm.
really hard to find the apples to apples comparisons of like I brought up earlier, Jackson Dart. I said Baker Mayfield is his comp. I don't think he's going to be Baker Mayfield in his career. He could. I don't think he
Yeah.
will. And Baker's not even an elite player. He's a good player. Shadir's comp for me, Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not spending a number two over in the collab mock. I picked Shadir at number two. I'm not spending a number two overall pick to have Teddy Bridgewater, who's going to be a starter for me, like he was a starter for 2 years
Exactly.
or whatever, and he's gone. Stylistically, that's who he is. And then Cam Ward is Jordan Love in my board. Actually, that might actually be what he is. But
The greatest
yeah,
quarterback of all
so
time.
Pierce, greatest quarterback of all time. I don't know. Um, and uh, and also that's actually another good point because Pierce, you brought up earlier how Cam's not necessarily a vocal person, but he kind of lets
Hmm.
his work tell everyone who he is, and that's kind of how I view Jordan Love. He just puts his head down, and he's not
That
a
is very
super
true.
yappy guy, but he has
Hmm.
aura and all that type of stuff, and he'll destroy the Cowboys on
Indeed.
January what the
Sure.
13th, um, or
Yeah.
whenever it was in 2024. But yeah, fire away, Pierce.
So yeah, Cam Ward. As you know, Dylan was talking about. You know, these aren't the guys that I predict them to be. I don't predict Cam Ward, but for Cam Ward, I have him as like a mix of a Cam Newton or a Teddy Bridgewater type of player. Uh, Meaning, I mean, big bodied, can use his legs if he wants to, but he's very calm, very composed football player because he's been through what, two different offensive stylists? Like I think he played at
He went from
Washington
incarnate
State
work.
before.
Well, hang on. Can I say he played 8-man football in high school? So he knows
I did not know that.
he's been through all kinds of systems. He played eight
I
man in high
did not
school.
know that.
He went to Incarnate Word, and then he transfers to Washington State. Then he transfers to
Hmm.
Miami. So go on.
The reason why I say I have him as like a Cam Newton kind of comparison, he's on the bigger side, taller side in terms of a quarterback, and he's got a strong arm. I mean, it may not be like the Josh Allen type of arm, but he's a gamer, he's a winner, he knows how to play the game the right way. And as I said, Jordan, he's like a Jordan Love esque as well, and just the way he carries himself, he's got a very good confidence in himself, but he doesn't have to tell you that he's confident.
Yeah,
He can just show you that he's confident.
yeah.
For Shador, Teddy
Hang on
Bridgewater.
1 second.
I mean,
Actually, hang on.
go ahead.
Ayush, did you write down any comps by chance?
I did not know.
Okay, no worries. Well, we can just talk. Actually, what we can just do is just have conversation about the comps down the board of maybe our top five or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, mine was Jordan Love for Cam Ward, and you can feel free to interject whenever. But Jordan Love was my comp for Cam Ward. I'm not a big fan of like Cam Newton comps honestly because measurables wise, Cam's Cam's only about 6'2". He's 6'0",
Oh,
6'1" and
my bad.
5/8, 219 pounds. So I mean he's a big body guy, but he's still comparative to Cam Newton, he's a midget. Honestly, he's a little boy. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, plays with a lot of moxie. The first thing I wrote down whenever I first evaluated him was, well, back then I think it was different terminology, but basically aura. I saw so much aura, a lot of confidence, and honestly, yeah, I'll point this out too with Cam. Cam is someone that I said I first got eyes on him at Incarnate Word. I really hope this pick hits because this is going to be one of the crown jewels of my evaluation history. Because back at Incarnate Word, I started to give him some day two hype, and And then basically every year since, he's basically gone up around for me. Even last year, before he decided to return to school, he was a top 50 player for me in last year's class with stacked quarterbacks. So really proud of him and how he's developed. Seems like a high character guy. Obviously, it's hard from our point looking in to be able to talk about character of these guys, but based on what we've been able to see him project in interviews, in media, et cetera, uh, really like what I see. I think he can lead a franchise in that sense. Um, he has a gunslinger mentality. Has the He's a good athlete, not a great one. He's a good athlete. I don't think he's someone that's going to go out and run for 600 yards for you. I think that he's kind of like I said, Jordan Love. He's kind of a Jordan Love caliber athlete, so he'll be able to take off and run when you need him to. He's capable of running in the red zone and making plays and scores that way. But we're still working on some of the progressions aspect, staying on schedule, and that was a problem with Caleb Williams last year too, where sometimes you know they can see the field, but sometimes it's a matter of trigger and when to make the throw. And for Cam Ward, sometimes he could take a little bit too long in the pocket. Mild down version from what I just said. Caleb Williams would circle around for half an hour before he made throws sometimes, which was pretty much his biggest and maybe only problem at that point in time. But yeah, I think Cam, in terms of the fundamentals of the position, is a little raw. But that's what I'm talking about with how realistic a ceiling is for these players. And he has a realistic path to becoming a top even five quarterback in the league. And it's just a matter of situation. And I think the Titans could be that right situation for him. I like the city fit. I like the scheme fit for him. And if they can just build more weapons around him, uh, I think that he's going to be in a safe spot trajectory wise. But okay, so Shadir, your pick was Pierce. What was your comp?
For sure, I agree with what your prediction was. Teddy Bridgewater,
Yeah.
uh, just his stylist, the way sorry, his style of play is more of a pocket passer. Uh, Good touch for the short and intermediate routes. Can throw the deep ball accurately, but he's not, as strong of an arm as a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes type of player. But yeah, I just that's my comp. Is a Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, and
I
not
can see
much
a
to
little
say
bit of
there. Go ahead, Ayush.
Gino as well. I feel like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Gino.
100%.
Yeah, I definitely see Gino as well.
yeah,
Gino, yeah, that's exactly what I was actually going to bring up. I think actually this offseason there was a ton of conversation as to what uh, the comp was, because there were two really like reeled in comps, and it was between Teddy and Gino for the draft community. So I personally saw Gino, and that was even before the draft community settled into that. I think that it's just, and everyone can see it this way. Or I'm sorry, Teddy. Uh, you watch the film and you're seeing remnants of Teddy and Gino all the way across the board. And I brought a very discreetly earlier, but Tua is another similar type of player to what Shadir is. Obviously, just different handedness, but um, yeah, I think Shador could, in terms of play style wise, he's Teddy, but in terms of what he will be at the pro level, I think he's going to be in that, potentially in that Brock Purdy range, where you're looking at someone that can facilitate, he can play point guard for the offense, and just move the ball around and make accurate passes. He's not going to go win you games consistently, but if you put weapons around him, and I mean, dude, I brought this up before. If I'm the 49ers and I'm losing everybody, it might make sense to go. I don't know if I don't know if I want to pay Brock Purdy. I want to trade him and see if I can go get Shadir Sanders and get a cheaper version of that. You still have the weapons around him. You can continue to build weapons around him and build up that offensive line, and you could have a much cheaper version of your QB1, because obviously a lot of the success the 49ers has had is because they had a cheap QB. So Okay, Pierce, who do you got for Jackson Dart?
A Drew Brees or a Baker Mayfield style, just the style of how they play.
Yeah,
Just looks like he plays for a winner. Like he can play the game the right way. He plays to win. And Drew Brees early in his career, could throw the football pretty well. Uh, put his body on the line, which kind of actually cost him his
yeah.
a little bit of a couple of years of his career. But yeah, but that's in terms of Baker Mayfield, he'll do whatever it takes to win, and that's something that I see Jackson Dart as when he gets in the NFL. He'll do
Yeah.
anything it takes to win, whether that be running through a dude's face or throwing a dot on the run between two defenders, stuff like that. I really could see Jackson Dart making a big impact wherever he plays, whether it be a 2 year, you know, sitting 2 week backup, 2 year backup period, or just him starting right off the bat wherever
Yeah.
he goes.
Baker is my comp. You were bringing up Zach Wilson earlier.
Mhm.
That would you say that's kind of your comp for him?
Kind of. Maybe not completely in terms of arm talent. I feel like Zach's probably a better thrower,
Yeah,
but in almost every other sense, I feel like it's pretty similar.
gotcha. Yeah, I think Dart and Zach have similar arm talent in terms of touch, but in terms of arm strength, I think you're right.
Strength, yeah.
Zach had Zach had remarkable arm strength. So, um, okay. Let's do one more comp here. Let's do Jalen Milrow. What's your comp for him, Pierce?
I mean, this is a big comp, even though I feel like he's not gonna reach that stats. But I had him as a Lamar Jackson or Anthony Richardson
Yeah,
type of comp. Just not as big as an Anthony Richardson, but has the raw athletic ability of a Lamar Jackson, fast, agile, has the inconsistency was with throwing with his just his mechanics and then throwing the football in general. But I could definitely see him as like the Anthony Richardson type of prototype or prospect in
yeah.
this NFL draft.
So what if I meet you in the middle there, and
Go
I
ahead.
see your Lamar and I see your Anthony Richardson? I give you a Justin Fields or a Jalen
I didn't think
Hurts.
of that. Yeah, that,
Yeah,
that
because you get the same size, you get the same kind of mental situation where, especially going in, because Justin and Hurts, their biggest knocks on their scout reports coming in were the mental aspect going through progressions, making it to a third
that is
read.
true.
Jalen Milrow never makes it to his third read, uh, but they were all elite athletes who had a proven track record in college. All played in. Actually, I don't know if Fields ever played in a college football playoff game. Actually, I think once. I think once. But yeah. So, uh, all right. I mean, yeah.
What if I gave you a non quarterback comparison for Jalen Milrow? I'm
Fire away.
checking the measurables real quick. 1 second. I'm gonna say I'm saying like Cordero Patterson. Like I think I think they're same height and weight. 6'2", 220 for Cordero, which is
Yeah, it's
basically
six.
the same.
It's 6'2", 217 for Jalen.
Yeah, I think. Let me see if I can find
Jalen's gonna be
Cordero
faster
ran.
though.
Yeah, I think he ran a 4.4. What? That's what it's saying.
And, okay, and then they're the same because Milrow ran I think a 4.39 at the pro day.
4.42. That's what
Well,
Cordero ran.
yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, but yeah, Melrose was because it was pro day, so it was between. I think the highest I saw was 4.37, something like 4.4 for low. But yeah, so same height,
It's,
same weight, same speed. Yeah,
I just try to be different, be a little quirky with it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, it's just this is one of those that, dude, he just I just don't think he has the he doesn't see the game fast enough to be able to be a quarterback long term. I think if you just let him settle down, and and just see the field as a pure runner, trying to go north to south, you're going to get a lot more. You're going to get a lot more out of him, in my opinion. I think this could be someone that could be. This could be someone that eventually is a 1,000-yard rusher on every year basis if he's a running back. And I guess there's a lot of bad blood in terms of the. I think the draft community hates hearing the concept of a super mobile quarterback being talked about as a wide receiver at the pro level, and then one day, whenever the very small, the off chance that Jalen Milroe is going to be an all pro quarterback, they're going to be playing some documentary and they're going to be playing this clip right here, and we're going to get hated on for the rest of our lives. But uh,
Yeah.
if he transitions over to running back, I think he's going to have a lot more of a successful career. And I eventually some team's going to be asking him to do that. So,
Yeah.
okay. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Like I said earlier, we're gonna try going position by position. We're probably gonna have to bundle some positions up. So like interior offensive linemen and offensive tackles will obviously
Yeah.
bundle up, but like defensive linemen, defensive backs maybe. So, but I think we're gonna try and be back here within the next week to talk running backs. Ayush is doing. We did Ayush and I did an episode before the season where we went and did a deep dive on running backs. So I think Ayush is going to be me and him are going to guide the flow of that show. And hopefully we get Mark back, and hopefully we have the whole cast and crew on the show. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. And we will see you guys next. Yeah, next week. All right.